Hey, what's going on, creators? Listen, I'm always excited to come to you guys with some great news, and today I definitely have some great news. Today, we're going to throw you to the debut Creative Spotlight interview of BornWithAGift.com. I'm super excited, man, and even more honored that I was able to sit down with my brother, Trey Searles, Elder Wiggles, for the very first interview, man. We had an amazing conversation, and I definitely hope you guys enjoy it and find some type of inspiration in it, man, because he's a very inspirational guy. But anyway, I'm not even going to take too much of your time. I'm excited. Let's jump into this thing, man. Trey, tell them who you are.
And I'm Trey Searles, 37-year-old native of Hinesville, Georgia, the eldest of three brothers. I am a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I'm a fourth grade special education teacher. I am the CEO, owner, and founder of Wiggles World Network, home of the unwarranted but necessary opinion. I'm also a DJ. I am co-owner and founder of Southern Hospitality, business that I have with my best friend, Bo Braxton. I also am the owner and founder of the Happy Medium Learning Center, where I tutor kids, all ages, but primarily elementary age students. Wiggles is a personality, a persona, and it was created to protect Trey from either catching feelings and or being so engulfed in people's personal affairs. And as a Sigma, I was able to use that brand to help push and promote the agenda of Sigma, which is culture for service, service for humanity. Uh, in 2008, I became a party promoter at a club in downtown Alabama. It was called Alabama Albany. It was called Downtown Live at the time. Then I began promoting at Club Escape, doing my own thing, house parties. I had a big event, Five Star Entertainment, which was what Southern Hospitality is now. We had a blue and white weekend in Albany, Georgia, and it then turned into Southern Hospitality, which is what Southern Hospitality is now. As far as being a creative, man, I'm the person who thinks a thing and wants to do it instantaneously. And that's me. Your boy Wiggles, man.
That's the most prolific introduction that I have ever heard someone give. That's the beauty of you. So, thank you for all of that information. That's a lot. You gave me a lot, but I appreciate that. So let's just jump right in. How much you said Wiggles was created to protect Trey? So how much of Wiggles is Trey and vice versa?
Uh, I would say it's not a 50-50 thing. It's all 100. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all 100%, honestly. And so the personality is who I was as a kid. Wiggles, I was always that kid. Was high energy, high strung, love to laugh, love to play, love to dance, love performing, love music. In church, I love the drums and mimicking everybody and copying people and just bringing a lot of life and laugh to any function, family function, church function. And then the older I got, it was, at frat house or in class. And when I was a class clown in high school. And so that's that. And Trey is the same person, essentially. But I'm more geared towards focusing on the wellness of people, really, and how they're doing and how they're feeling and how I can help them personally. And, Trey is a little more emotional, a little more sensitive, and also a little more, direct. And I like to be concise and clear. With Wiggles, he's kind of like, yo, let's just forget about it. Let's just have a good time. With Trey, like, well, we can still have a good time, but let's really come up with an action plan to make that happen. So again, it's all 100%. It's not 60, 40, 70, 30, 50, 50. It's all 100. Trey is Wiggles. Wiggles is Trey.
Okay, that's beautiful. You actually answered a lot of the questions that I had, or a few of the questions, because it's it's very interesting to look at you. I think when I first met you, to look at you, you look like a nerd, and I know you know that. Like you look like a quiet, super nerd. Don't really do nothing. Probably collect Digimon cards. When I saw you, that's what I saw. Right. But of course, I saw you when I first saw you. It was broad daylight. We had stuff going on. We was actually moving. So I saw Trey. So that night when I met the other side of Trey, I was like, oh, okay, so the nerd has some personality, and that's super cool. So like, it was very interesting. Like your whole aesthetic, like you are the captain of the nerds in my book.
this your interview, so because I want to address it. Like, how do I look like a nerd? There's no glasses. I'm not dressed a certain way. I kind of like a cornball almost, right? The way we dressed back in those days. But
Nerd.
I never.
That's what a hipster nerd is right now, though.
I never necessarily got the nerd vibe, but I mean, yeah, I guess.
Okay, but when you say so, like when you thinking about the negative aspect, like stereotypes. I'm not talking about the
Okay,
glasses
so
and the
give me the great connotation of it. What's the great
yeah. So
connotation of
like
being a
so
nerd?
when I'm saying nerd, like you just have this. He's a very smart, reserved, nice guy. You know,
Well,
you just
I
have
could
that
I could actually
understanding.
appreciate that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I could appreciate that observation. You know what I'm saying? But it goes to show you that you can't judge a book by its cover. Because I definitely
true,
was not college.
true, true. Going back to you being a class clown, at what point did you realize like people like this? Like I'm a likable life of the party.
I think I've always known that people like the laughter. Well, being young, people laugh at you. You got to look at the audience, right? And so
Hmm.
there's some things that you do that's just naturally funny, or I should say, there are things that I did that was just naturally funny. And you get to a point in place where you're like, man, these people always want to be around you because everybody is like laughing. And so being when I'm the oldest son, as I stated earlier, and the oldest grandson. So being in the country, man, all of the older women, like you got them laughing or whatever. You smart, there go the nerd thing right there. I have muscles, but they always want to see your muscles. Miss Emily, I never get Miss Emily and my great grandmother. My grandmother, Miss Marie, they sit on the porch. Let me see the muscles or whatever. They just be laughing and kicking, cackling at you or whatever. And so,
Yeah,
not that they take you for a joke, but then you start finding ways to just humor the older people. And when the older people think you're funny, then it's like they're literally finding ways to connect to that humor. And
right,
so when it comes to kids, people your age, then there's laughter because it's like a jealous type of laughter. Like how you come to be the center of attention. You know what I'm saying? Or the
right.
life of the party all the time. And so when I used to get these phone calls, like my mom called me one time in particular, like, "Hey man, they want you to come to the house to do this, that, and third." And I'm like, "Mom, I'm not a porch monkey. I'm not just gonna be, you're not just gonna call me when you want to laugh and have a good time because we're gonna have a good time. But and even so, you have that aspect of it. Then when it comes to class, like every time I walked into the class, especially in high school, everybody knew what time it was. Everybody knew what time it was. It was going down, man. And I never, I can. There's only times, a few times where I think I was like laughed at, and maybe I just didn't know what was funny. But there's always some level of truth that somebody knows about you or whatever that they just like snickering or whatever. But for the most part, like nah, I was that dude. I was a celebrated class clown, and when I got to college, I was into SpongeBob. Crazy. But I was into SpongeBob, man. I love cracking jokes, man. And when you ain't the biggest person, or maybe not even the best looking person, man, but you got these jokes for everybody. That was my strength. Those jokes is what made me who I was. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't a whole lot of mimicking and mocking like you see people do now. It was just real life being able to take anything. I can take probably, let's just say, the most beautiful girl and find some one thing to pick on, man, just to make her laugh and make everybody else laugh. And let's just say we take both for example. You find something that, at that time, he wasn't as quote unquote, I guess, as hot as he is now. He definitely looked like garbage. When we were younger. So I'm praying for my nephew Nas because he's going through that stage of looking like a young Braxton. Nonetheless, taking little things like him stuttering or my lisp, you know what I'm saying, and being able to make something like that funny and make it stretch. But then knowing when to cut it off. Because if you go too long on one joke, bro, that's when it's like, all right, bro,
Exactly.
we've had
Yeah.
enough.
Because I know like people that are just like annoyingly funny. Like after a while, their funny is not necessarily haha. It's more like please leave. So
Correct.
like that's that transition that I always feel like most funny kids have to kind of find that balance with. And so like going back to you being able to crack a joke on anybody, where does that come from? Does that come from like protection? Is that coming from just you just being observant? Like where does that come from?
I think it's a combination of the both, but more or less coming up from the country, man. If you listen to country people talk, especially older folks, if you listen to the wit behind a lot of their statements, and they're telling the truth a lot of times, all the time. and it's funny. Their truth is funny. I never forget my grandma said something about my uncle. He was riding a bicycle. To me, look at him on that bicycle like a big bear riding a bike. So that I mean, it would that junk had us dying laughing, right? But the truth is he might have looked like a bear riding the bicycle, and she
Right.
like she just who says that? Like who talks about somebody being big on a bicycle, right? Like he riding the bicycle, he looks like a big bear. So you take the wit from these older people, man, and like country folks have a way of describing things because maybe we're not as articulate, right, or as not well versed as other people. So we have different ways of putting words together or bringing things to life, and so you use your surroundings and your upbringing to manifest that truth, which then in turns into a joke. When it comes to protection, again, I said earlier, when you think about like strength, I wasn't growing up being a fighter. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like either you
Right.
had to be able to fight, play sports, or just be funny. Those are the things that really attracted girls then. And so I just found ways to if a person thought they were gonna bully me, I found a way to kind of counteract it. And then other thing, it was just natural. I forget the other thing that you said, protection or whatever. But the other part of it was just like I don't know. I just always want to have a good time. So you always want to
Yeah.
have a good time, and laughter is that. Now, as it relates to like when you watch television shows, you think of Martin was like the funniest person on TV to me growing up. My folks always said I reminded them of Will Smith, from the Fresh Prince and that dancing and rapping and, being the Mac and, what I'm saying, just really loving people. Um, and the absentee of the father at the time. And so you have that dynamic. But Martin was really funny, man, like really, really funny. Eddie Murphy was probably like the funniest actor to me, actor, comedian. Him and Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was like one of my favorites. So watching those guys in Living Color and Nutty Professor or Life and I was just like, man, these guys. It takes a special ability to be able to, take reality and really, really make it as funny as such. And bloopers. If you ever used to watch movies back in the days, and you see those bloopers, those are the thing that they were driving me.
So like you said Martin, and it's so funny because like you pretty much have created Wiggles World Network. It's almost like another Martin Lawrence show. Like you got the DJ aspect, you got the comedy, you got whatever else with your best friend going on. Like literally, you kind of like live in this show. Does that has that clicked for you? Was that an influence at some point?
Well, honestly, there's not a connection in that right. The network really was just off the strength of promoting black people, black businesses, black news, black media, black families, black health, black wealth. That was the basis of it. And a lot of the conversations came from the shows that I had when I first started, came from The View, the all woman cast, I guess you could say, all women, all female cast, with Whoopi Goldberg and the rest. And I was like, dang, you never really see like black men have this type of perspective unless they are co-hosts or they're a guest on the show or they're just talking sports or it's a white man on a late night show, right? So no black man really controls this level of media. And so I wanted to do something to offset that, which was the perspective. We ended up calling it the black male perspective, but I did that and then I used to be on Facebook and I would watch different people post and watch the people that would comment on those posts. And so then I would be like, yo, we should do this right here. All female cast came, and then people talk about church. Oh, we need to do this. Then marriage. Let's do this. Then it was sports. Let's do this. And then it was about educators in the school system. So I'm like, boom, let's do this. So COVID, kind of helped catapult that. And as it relates to the DJing side of it, I really DJ on the network, man. I should actually, bring that in, man, because
Hmm.
YJC was more or less for the independent gospel artists, and it was
Right.
going well for a while. But I think I tell that story all the time. You had these independent artists, life comes at them, and they just stop. You know what I'm saying? And that
That's
that's
yeah, I
just
know
that's
that.
just that. So YJC is still alive. We just I just don't promote it as much.
With being a DJ and also being a musician, how do you blend those skills to just be you? Like what does that culmination look like in your head?
It's all about to go back to the personality, man. And so, we talking musicianship, and for me, where that comes from is the church. So it's about the anointing, I guess you could say, or the spirit, and then being able to give way to the feeling of it all to make it, more common. So being able to give way to the feeling of what you're hoping to create. And so for me, musically, when I'm DJing, I'm thinking of what I want to dance to. And that's not always the good thing or what I want to hear and what I want to listen. So I can be in my own zone and everybody just be standing and staring, looking at me like, bro, what are you doing? And I'm like, yo, I may be getting paid to be here, but I want to actually be in the moment too, right? I want to be in the moment, so I want to enjoy that. But the other thing is that I think of like, man, what's gonna make a person be like, God dang it, like, bro, like this one moment. I don't care if it's the entire 4 hour set, 3 hour set, 2 hour set, but if it's like one moment that people be like, man, that one moment when this happened, my job was done. Musically, when it comes to creating music, again, like for me, it's drums, and so I'm just looking at one of the ways that I can just invoke such a feeling, man, that if a person is having a bad day or bound or broken, that music speaks to them. And so I'm always, I guess that's what I should say, DJing and being on the drums, I'm always trying to communicate freedom and liberty and life and love musically. So I very rarely want to play music that's degrading or, downgrading. I mean, some atmospheres, yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the game.
Necessary. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I want people to be as encouraged, as uplifted, feeling good, feeling great. Even if they just chit chatting and they just chopping it up, because everything ain't about, dancing all the time. You know what I'm saying? Some things is really just about, man, I was in a funk and I came here, man, and like my personality was allowed to be portrayed or personified through the work.
So, have you ever had a bad show?
Absolutely.
Tell me about your bad, the
Absolutely,
worst
man.
show.
Ah, I did a wedding, man, and I don't think it was like my worst, but it's just like they had a list of everything that they wanted to play or wanted to hear.
Mm,
And no matter how I hyped it up, no matter how I dropped it, nobody was really getting with what they wanted to hear.
right.
And so, it was a bad show for me because at the end of the day, man, people blame the DJ for everything. It's
Right.
your wedding or your birthday party, and if it just ain't hitting, it just ain't hitting it. But the truth is that I believe this: you know who you're inviting to your events.
Right.
And if you are inviting people who don't want to party, or don't want to dance, or this ain't their forte, then that's what we're gonna get. So, if you hype me up, I'm coming with the expectation that we all finna be hyped.
Yeah.
And if I drop a certain song that don't work, I drop another song that don't work, I drop another song that don't work. I go through 10 of your songs that you play, none of them songs work. Like I'm like, what? I don't even know what to go to then. You know what I'm saying? Like I done tried top 40s, old school, family reunion songs, cha-cha slides, the juveniles. I done played everything, man. Like, yo, this just ain't it. But I've never had nobody tell me, what I'm saying, to my face anyway, that like, yo, bro, you suck. I'm not saying that I've had people jumping from the time I started DJing to the time they left. Absolutely not. There's sometimes that we could be in a good groove and I think a song gonna hit and it don't. And everybody walks away from the floor. You know what I'm saying? So you had those moments, but then you play something else that get them back on the floor. But again, it goes back to what you think people gonna like, man. They just may not like it. And then when it comes to these requests, people request songs, man, and change the whole atmosphere. Change the whole atmosphere, man. So, I mean, I hadn't had a total dud, but I've been to a couple shows that, I can't necessarily remember, specifically each one. But I've had time when I'm like, man, this ain't good. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I DJed a Labor Day event last year. I DJed a Labor Day event last year, man, and I felt like I was trash. Like people did a little bit of dancing later on, man. Once I got in the groove, but it was like a whole group from Alabama. They came down, a dude performed, and then I played some song like his whole crew just left.
Oh,
and it kind. I was like, man, what just happened here? Right? They performing, they was out, and it looked like it just kind of like changed the whole trajectory. I hate that word, but it changed the whole trajectory of the party.
all right. So run me down five absolute do not do this to the DJ, like rules that you need the world to understand. Do not come to your DJ with this mess. Give me five things.
um, Shucks. Number five would be. I don't know. I don't even think it's five things. I think every DJ hates when people come in telling somebody to, hey, play my song. It's hot. You know what I'm saying? That's. I think every DJ hates that. Play this song versus that song. Like, hey man, this is what you need to do. Like, I don't think DJs like that at all. I do this, but I don't think a lot of DJs really like it when other DJs come and say, "Hey, I'm a DJ too, bro. Like, what's up? Let me hop on." I do it. I do it a lot.
You do. Yeah. You
I
do.
do it
You
a lot. I can't
get
help
a
it because
microphone.
I do it a lot. But it's just like if I was in church and I was on the drum, like I'm like, yo, let me really get this thing. I got about a good 30 minutes in me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna play the top the top 10 songs, man, from the 2000s to the 2020s, man. Predominantly early 2000s, but I mean that's really just it, man. You know, I mean, and I don't think no DJ like anybody coming to the DJ booth drunk. I think that's number one. Don't come to the DJ booth drunk, man, because you're liable to either waste liquor on their equipment,
Yeah.
mess something up. You know I think that's it. So it's only three. It wouldn't be five. So the three would be
Okay.
don't come trying to get somebody to play your music like that when you don't really rock with the DJ. Two, don't come really just telling the DJ what it is that they need to play. And number one, yeah, don't come to the DJ booth drunk.
Okay. So interesting point. Let's run with that first one for an indie artist that is like hype about their music. How does an indie artist communicate to a DJ to just give them that shot?
What has to happen is that I think independent artists should actually be to the club regularly and just vibing with the DJ and making personal connections and talking to the DJ and getting to know the DJ beforehand and seeing what they could do for the DJ. You know what I'm saying? And you can be up front, hey man, I'm an artist, I'm aspiring to do this, that, and third. What are your suggestions? What are your pointers? And actually put that into work first. You know what I'm saying? Let the DJ see that you work your music or you work your brand and then come back to the DJ for, in my opinion, like for in terms of like partnerships and like how you can get shows and take the DJ with you. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it ain't
Right.
really just about, especially if it's local. You know, it ain't just about hey, play my music, play my music. Because if you want to get your music played, take your music to the radio station. You know what I'm saying? And let that tell the story. Even though most records are broken in the club or at these events that you know eventually get to radio, I think it's all about relationship building and not necessarily brand building. Some people think it's brand over relationships, but if you build that relationship, man, you get connected to the right person, then that helps to build the brand.
So okay. So I'm gonna play this clip. I'm gonna play this clip because I'm gonna challenge you.
I wish I had.
See if you can hear this.
And before I go there, I gotta get the dollar candy.
Can you hear that?
Mike and Ike's, lemon heads. I forgot the candies. Snicker bars, Twizzlers, Starburst, grocery.
So that was you just vibing, right? So are you a rapper, man? Like, would you consider yourself a lyricist, or MC? What?
The more I hear myself, man, the more I'm starting to believe that I'm not a
Uh,
rapper.
what?
I don't think I have the rapper voice, but I
Hold
will.
on. Wait. Hold on. Wait. Let's try to repeat that.
We got wings with no chip. I'm a hop to the hip. I mean hip to the hop. This is the bop. Everything I do. I never Hey, not take it back. I am a rapper. I'm a rapper. I'm a
Come,
rapper, man. I'm a
come
rapper. I take
on,
it back. I'm a rapper.
come on, man. Like, really, you can spit for real.
Yeah, I definitely am a rapper. So here's the thing though. going back to like the child age, man, it goes from like music. I love music because I love dancing, man. But then you get into the flow of the art of writing. So I love writing. I've always loved writing because I love reading at one point in time. So you love reading and you love writing and I love creating. So I love telling stories and I love being able to find different ways to either shorten the story or find a better way to put it. And so then when you run into, for me, when I Bone Thugs and Harmony was like the first music group that I actually like just loved and followed.
Okay.
And I love their style. I love the way they did it. I could mimic everything. Crucial Conflict. Those type artists would rap real fast. Because I spoke fast. My mom said I chewed up my words, so it was easy for me to really get up with that, Bone Thug style. And I was
Right.
really Busta Rhymes, and then Outkast was like the group that kind of matched my personality. Andre 3000, of course. And I just I was like, yo, I could do this joint, and not because I feel like I could rap, but because I felt like I could entertain people on a stage and you really just have folks rocking. And so I never forget, I got a video, man, of me doing the karaoke without the lyrics to Bombs Over Baghdad and
Mm-hmm.
making 2018. I never forget it. And I was just going ham. And I was like, bro, I could do this. And so Jay-Z is really like the person who like just had me really wanting to embody the music, and like he walked with his aura is just different from everybody's, in my opinion. And so matching that aura, matching that lyricism, and then hearing people now like a J. Cole or CeeLo Green and Kendrick Lamar, uh, just throwing up all of these guys who are just, in my opinion, they're just phenomenal, man. They're really phenomenal with it and soulful. Lauren Hill, Erica Badu, and I was like, yo, I definitely know I could do all of that. And so when you think of a distinction of voice, I mean, I think I could go toe to toe with anybody as it relates to writing. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Not being able to articulate it and learning to get in the pockets of being able to make stuff smoother. Like, I don't know. I don't think I've not listened to people long enough to have a distinct style to where I don't sound or feel like nobody else. I think you would be able to hear every artist that I like in my music. And that may be okay, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what it is. Like to be able to hear people's influences, I think is a nice ode. Like it really shows like where you coming from, and then also it gives somebody something to relate to within like that music. Like, oh man, I hear my favorite MC in him. Like, so I'm in that. But you talking about your voice, like. I don't think you have you been listening to the radio? Because are you listening to these grown men's voices on the radio right now? Because Meek Mill sounds like 8-year-old.
He does. I don't, but I mean, I guess it's kind of grown. You know what I'm saying? Man, I don't listen to it, man. But again, though, you're right. I think I got the voice to host. I got the voice to, talk or spoken word or something like that. But then I never just be like, man, could you sit here and listen to me over 8 tracks just
Mhm.
going hard? Maybe you can.
I can. I can. I
Maybe you get that. I mean, that moment right there, man. Like when you hear those laughs, I go back to the question that you asked earlier. Like, when did you know, or how can you differentiate between somebody laughing at you because they think you're funny, or they're laughing because they're really having a really good time? And at that moment, your birthday party, that was like one of the most authentic experiences ever because it was like a rare occasion for the both of us. I think for everybody included. And so for me,
yeah.
it was like I could do this all day, every day. I could be on set all the time, literally just going with a band that can groove and some background singers. I got some old footage hosting a talent show doing the same thing, like
Yeah.
performing other people's songs, going in.
Because I remember, like, I think at the end of that clip, you're like, "Oh my gosh, is this your birthday party or is it mine?" Like, oh my gosh,
you know, I,
so
I,
I'm
I,
just like, so it's just interesting because you are always trying to push, like, you are the most annoying motivator in my life. And I say that with all the love and care and respect in me. You are just annoying when it comes down to you knowing what somebody can do and you wanting to see them do it. Like you're annoying. So it's interesting that you sit a producer sitting with this incredible quill skill and you not doing not nothing with this MC. So I feel like in the spirit of Wiggles, of challenging and calling people out, I think I'm going to demand that I get a Wiggles mixtape of some
Demand.
kind, like a EP, something, because I know you've been making beats.
I
So
I drop an EP. I drop a bunch. I'm gonna drop 4 EPs, man. The first is gonna be called "The Kid in Me," "The King in Me." The last will be "The God in Me," and then the fourth one will probably be "Welcome Back to Earth."
see, that's the thing with visionaries. You can try to challenge a visionary, but they already got a plan. So because you already have a plan,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need to go ahead and make that happen. So what
yeah.
is gonna
Nah,
come
definitely.
first?
So give me them beats too, man. Shout out to my frat brother, man, Marcus Dawes, man. I told him I wanted him to do a whole. It's a lot of people I want to work with because people again. But and let me tell you, the reason why I want to work with y'all is I feel because y'all get comfortable with just doing that junk, hoping that somebody will like just stumble across it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, forget that. We ain't stumbling across nobody, man. Look at Kanye West, Jay-Z, Dame Dash, and I always look at these gospel artists. You know what I'm saying? These people who are really like been doing it forever and ever and ever. And eventually they make it. I would listen to an old interview with Jay-Z. He said 26 years old when he dropped his first album. Most rappers are like 17, 18 when they start. You know what I'm saying? Real young.
Yeah.
And so when you think of me, I'm 30 something years old.
Woo!
Ha! You know what I'm saying? 50 hit the 40 club, and I don't think it's too late to drop an album. I don't think it's too late to do anything. And so for me, it's all about partnership. So if somebody said like you do music, you got a little space. If you like, yo, hey, look, man, let's go ahead and drop this 4-track EP right now. You said the kid in me. Let's bring out the kid in you and really just do it. And I said, I bet I'll be there tomorrow. I'm coming. If you have 4 tracks and we did, and we can knock it out in 4 days, not 4 songs in one day tomorrow, I'll be like, bet, let's do it. And I'll be like, okay, we're gonna drop it Monday. You know what I'm saying? We got just to really make it just like, yo, I did it. Now y'all go buy this album. You know what I'm saying? Like I got a track,
We
I
can
did it.
definitely do that.
No, I'm with it, man. Like I was thinking about my kids at school. And I just kept saying like, I did it, 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 I did it. They passed and made it to the next grade. I passed and I made it to the next grade. Like my kids, they literally mock everything that I do, and they want me to do an album for them.
Yeah.
And so, just something like that is like, I want them to be excited about passing and making it to the next grade or the next level. But imagine like adults thinking of themselves being able to pass and make it to the next
Yeah.
moment.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, I'm always thinking. So
I know.
this is my mantra now, man. The only response is action.
Yeah. You're a visionary. You are a visionary. You are the walking $1 million bill. So like because you don't went back to a sentimental point, I see your sensitive face that came in. I see a
It
little
did.
Mr. Trey
It did.
Searles.
It did.
I'm looking at Mr. Trey Searles right now. Wiggs is kind of side back a little bit. So what is your favorite story to kind of dive into and really tell and get out there to people?
Um, dang, it's never been asked like that. That was good because I don't tell the same one story all the time. But you know what? Nah, check it. So when I was in Georgia Southern, I was in Statesboro, man, going to East Georgia College going to Georgia Southern by way of East Georgia College. And I auditioned for Stump the Yard, and I made it. I did a step out by myself. They weren't paying me no attention. I was getting it, and I was like, all right, boom, I was done. I finished. They were like, that's it. I was like, yeah, thank y'all for your time. And I walked out the door. The head B2K's head choreographer, he ran outside to come and get me. And well, a young lady came first, and I thought that she was trying to holler at my frat brother who took me there. And you were like, hey, nah, the head guy wants you. He came outside on the porch and was like, yo, bro, we want you to come back. And so at that time, I wasn't so big on like connections and networking, so I didn't think to ask who lived in Atlanta so that I could stay in Atlanta so that I can come at this audition. We went all the way back to Statesboro. And on the way back, I just felt like this whole thing, like, you know what? Even if I don't get it, you know what I'm saying, or I don't make it, I was happy and content with the fact that I actually went to a movie audition and they came outside for me. I was
Right.
content with that moment, right? And so the next day, I tried to get back, man, and I just couldn't. Everybody had class, exams, tests, or whatever. So by the time I finally did get away there, I was like, hey, yo, man, I was supposed to come back for the second audition or whatever. And they was like, man, it's too late. They done learned everything already. And so, you out. And that was it. And from that moment on, that's what made me. I left. I didn't go back. I didn't go straight back to Statesboro, man. I went to Albany that night. I went to Albany, Georgia that night. Hung out. Came back home, man. Got stopped. My license was suspended. Got my front with the car towed. You know what I'm saying? Had to call my cousin and my girlfriend at the time, man, to come and get the whip, come and get me. It was crazy. And after that, I left Statesboro. Never looked back, man. I prayed. I was like that. I prayed. And I said, God, if you want me to be an actor at this time, I get this role and I do this. But if not, then I finished school, and that's how I ended up in Albany. And the rest is history.
I have never heard that story.
I've told it several times. That just means you don't pay attention. But it's all good. This your show, not mine.
Oh, maybe that's the case. Yeah, I clearly did not know that maybe you would talk. No, I've never heard you tell me anything about Stump the Yard.
Yeah, man. So yeah. That I can't remember what year it was, but it was around like it had to be like '05. I guess it was like early '06, early '06 because I left Statesboro in '06 and went to Albany. So it had to be early '06, late '05, early '06 is when that happened. But I definitely did. My frat brother, he was an extra in Fighting Temptations. And so he had been knowing about different, happenings, and he wanted the whole step team to go. He was that big about getting Sigma represented, and so
Right.
nobody else could go. And so he was like, "Man, bump it, you gonna go?" And I was like, "Shoot, I'm down for it. Let's do it." And I did a whole step show nonstop by myself. No breaks,
I
no
can see
pauses,
that.
no
I
breaths, no
can
nothing.
definitely, I can definitely see that. I completely see that. That is
I'm an entertainer. What do we do?
yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
yeah, you really are a legend in the making. So you are a storyteller. You like to put everybody out. You like to promote people. Do you think the story has more of an impact getting that story out, or is it the connections that you can bring, the people that you can bring together to bring things to happen? Is your which is the heaviest impact?
I think it's interchangeable sometimes, but it all depends on again who and what it is, and so um, the story makes the connection. You know what I'm saying? So if you give the right audience the right story, then it begins to connect. And so depending on who the story is about or the characters in the story, it depends on what connections can be made or you know what I'm saying how it's connected. So again, when I think about what we did for your birthday party, the story that was shared and that was told and was given, that was made kind of like after the connection, but our story preceded the. You told a story, and it was real simple. I want to do something for my birthday. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to just have something different where I get something and I'm not necessarily giving. And from you telling that story, I made the connection. We threw the party. You know what I'm saying? I told you to invite your folks. I called Big Nick. You got the band. You promoted. You know what I'm saying? And so from that, right, yo, Wiggles or Trey is doing this, that, and the third, so on and so forth. Now Danny V gets a connection. Now the band, they get a connection. You know what I'm saying? And so we're doing this, and from there, we tell this whole story. And it's like now, from that moment, even though you are everything that you're doing now, you've already had this stuff. But if people are new to it, they'll think that one moment led to another moment, led to another moment, led to another moment. When in reality, it's all one moment, just kind of opening up at the same time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interchangeable. It's the story and the connection, or what's most impactful. I think what's most important is the connection. The story is the catalyst, but if you can make that connection and you can make something come to life from it, that's the impact because that that other people have the potential of being impacted by the connection. So again, it's action. If we tell a story and nothing happens, then I mean we just told a story.
Give us the tapestry of the vision that is not proprietary, because of course you can't tell everybody everything. So give me the public view vision of Wiggles, Trey Searles, international mogul.
Um Man, I want to be philosophical, right? I want to be
Go
deep
ahead. Go
in,
ahead.
in, in
Please.
mystical, right?
Go
So
ahead.
picture it, Sicily, 19. I'm playing. Nah, nah. So let's think of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's
Okay.
think of Harlem Renaissance. You know,
Okay.
the early stars of jazz, rock and roll, rap, hip hop, gospel, pop. And we think of this culture and this community of black people being who they are based on what they've been taught, told, or given, or shown, and just being able to take care of themselves within themselves, right? And I know, and we know that at this late in the game, we can't be totally excommunicated from our counterparts or constituents, and so you got to find ways to work with them. But you got to have control of your narrative. You know, you got to have control of who puts it out and how it's put out, and being able to celebrate yourself in a way that is not so self affirming that it's
Mhm.
almost platonic, so to speak. And so my vision is, again, it's just being a platform for the unspoken, for the unheard, for the unreached, the untapped, wanting to see everybody who has something do something, you know, so to see everybody who has something give something, to see everybody who has something be something, you know, and that's essentially it, man. The network was that, man. We don't have a news media outlet here in Hinesville, Georgia. So Wigglesworth Network, by and large, was created for that purpose. Now, I hadn't done what I could do, you know what I'm saying, to magnify that, but I do foresee myself at least giving an attempt to being able to shed light to the good, you know what I'm saying, the bad, or indifferent, or impartial here in the city, and being able to broadcast it, you know, because if we wait on Savannah to, to telebroadcast our news, man, it may not ever happen. So
Right.
that's that. And then the other part is just now that we know that we can connect on social media or digital media outlets, we can, promote each other. And that's the biggest thing, man, promotion. I've always wanted to be a promoter of good things, a promoter of godly things, a promoter of questionable things. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, everything, in my opinion, everything is God, good and bad. Everything is God. He
Mhm.
says all things work together. So that's that for the good of those who love him. So I mean, there's benefit and bad. We can benefit from that. And so that's that. The visionary aspect of it is just being able to see what artists do. You have a blank canvas, but they already see the art beforehand. Like
Right.
a person that can create a picture without actually looking at a person or another picture and drawing is probably one of the most talented persons in the world. Or a person that can do music and just hear a story and create it. You know what I'm saying? Like the best storyteller can tell a story as if it's a first hand account when it's really second or third hand.
Mhm. Okay. So you can speak to the amount of talent that small towns and country towns like are saturated in. Like some of the greatest people usually come from the smallest places. Like what? Why do you think that is?
Um, I don't know if this is fact or folklore, but if Africans were brought, over to the United States primarily from Virginia down to the northern parts of Florida, then I think our most creative people were born in the crevices of the United States down here in the South. You know what I'm saying? And so, from what I was told, even in just being docked at those areas, they kind of shifted out westward, and so that's where you have the Alabamas and Mississippis and Louisianas and Texas, where you have a lot of the most creative people. You know what I'm saying? With a lot of that music, and then when you have the diaspora of blacks shifting northward, you know what I'm saying? And so you got the DCs and your New Yorks and Jerseys and Phillies and Midwest or wherever they are, and all of this talent is there. If you any state, no matter how big or small it is made up of tiny little
Mm-hmm.
towns and rural areas, and then most of those towns are probably the most talented people. But a lot of times, because the bulk of what's promoted is the ill educated in the
Mm-hmm.
small towns and areas, and so when that's the surface of what's being told, no matter how talented you are, you're always thinking if you're smart enough or good enough or able enough to go somewhere and flourish and be great. So for me, I think even in the question that you asked, I think the better question is what keeps us in these crevices from forming our own thing together and making
Mhm.
people come to us, and then
Mhm.
making our little towns bigger. Atlanta is a small area, but there's a lot of areas around it. But
Right.
somebody said, let's make this country place something more than what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that Atlanta wasn't always the capital, Savannah was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But somewhere, somehow, it changed. Whether that was a white or a black thing is irrelevant, but it changed. And so people pick and choose where they want money at and where they want business at and where they want to do things at. But shoot, I say white folks are, if they brave and smart enough to bank down in Brunswick, Georgia,
Mhm.
why we ain't brave and smart enough to do business here?
Mhm.
I think it's just essentially how people value and view themselves.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And their worth. Because when we think of like support, I've never thought to myself like, man, I need this support. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't, because then we place, let's just say for like a better term, we place our success on the hands and the shoulders and the back of other people. We make them responsible for our success.
Right.
When in reality, most of the people who are famous now are probably from a crevice somewhere.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And they just had one or two people who either had the money or the means or the resources, or there are a lot of people who just like dirt poor, like they didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie Foxx, Terrell, Texas. Yeah, Steve Harvey. These guys are from like little. I mean, even when you think of cities, they're like, if New York had a bunch of trees and dirt roads and
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, it would be the country just like us. We just don't got the
Yeah.
tall buildings and those things like that. You get what I'm saying? So um I think we just gotta get to a point to where we stop waiting on people and we just do it and we just keep doing it. Like we're so distracted, man, by what we see that we forget what we saw.
Nice. Okay. Come on through, poet. Come on through. Give me
You
legacy.
did.
Give me Wiggles legacy.
Um I mean, I feel like what I've done with you is legacy. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about you becoming a multimillionaire, man, but the fact that I can actually see that you've done all this stuff, it's legacy. Southern hospitality, it's my legacy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, yo, bro, this is what we're gonna do. Legacy. Happy Medium Learning Center, it's my legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like Wiggles World Network, it's my legacy, man. In any conversation that I've had with anybody, and if it inspired action, it goes back to what you asked me earlier. What's more important or more impactful? The story or the connection? The connection, again, because if I tell you a story, it was just like I just made you feel better, but didn't nothing change about what you did or your life or anything like that, then yeah, maybe I cast my pearls to the swine. Yeah,
So
but
tell me, what do you hope or want? Any interaction with you, the lives that you've come in and out of, everybody that's known you. What do you hope that people gain from time, a pretty significant time or an interaction with you? What do you hope that they see? What do you want people to see in Wiggles Trade?
God,
Nice.
yep, God. That's the most important thing, man. Everything ain't a sermon, but I can't help it.
I know.
But truthfully, that's the biggest thing, man. If a person can connect, and I think that's what it is a lot of times, man. If people can connect to the God in you, then they begin to see the God in them. And once they begin to see the God in them, it's not necessarily about trying to become a preacher, but it's about passing the message of love and the message of life and liberty. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, all things go back to God. I'm not so bent on arguing the way. I believe there's one way and one way only. However, through jokes and memes, you find yourself questioning a lot of things that you hear. Nonetheless, though, man, I just want people to see God, man. That's it. That's it.
Fill in the blank. I am a creative who.
I am a creative who, man. Now I'm gonna show my card, man, because my answer gonna change. I'm a
Good.
creator. I am a creator who creates what he sees. Man, sometimes what I see is what I hear. So if I hear it, so like for example, I was having a
I feel it.
conversation earlier today and just talking about how I come up with names. I'm like, man, if I hear it, then that's just what I do. So now I've heard it, and the minute I hear it, I instantly visualize it. So
Right.
I'm a creator who visualizes. I'm a creator who understands. I'm a creator who interprets. I'm a creator who deciphers, break down. I'm a creator who creates. I'm a creator who knows no limits, no bounds. I'm a creator, you know what I'm saying, who can mimic and mock. You know what I'm saying? I'm a creator who spends more time mentally creating than I do actively creating. So I'm a creator who's moving to actively creating old and new projects.
What is the best sound you've ever saw?
Best sound that I ever saw. Um, so
First thing comes to mind.
there's several, man. Um, one would definitely be the moment that I spoke in an unknown language, man, at church.
Mm,
That was like the best sound that I ever saw because I began to manifest things that I wasn't really able to. What I was hearing, I wasn't speaking in a sense. Uh, Singing, man, hearing singers sing, like that's a beautiful thing to see. So no one singer in particular. For NDA reasons. You know,
yeah,
um,
too much.
and man, being about outstate one time, man, and going on stage, being in the dance competition, man, and actually killing the game and hearing the whole basketball complex go nuts as I get like, I being in a concert and hearing cheers and that junk is like one of the most electrifying things ever.
Oh,
That's the
yes.
most electrifying thing ever.
So, I think that's all I got for you, Wibbles. I think I'm done with you. I'm gonna let you be.
So let me ask you this last question before you let me be. How was it, man? You know, your first creative on your show. How was that feeling? You know, to be behind the scenes asking questions. How was it?
I mean, that's my bread and butter, man. That's where I love to be. I like to be behind the scenes. I'm not a spotlight type person, so to be able to just ask questions and get answers and to just engage, man, that's all it's all about for me. So this is great for me. How was it for you as the interviewee?
It was dope. It was incredible, man. The more opportunity that we have to share our story, tell our stories, and express ourselves in either the same way and or a different way, the better we get with articulating our feelings. The better we
Mm-hmm.
get with expressing ourselves, the better we get with the truth. And then sometimes there are certain things that come out of us in a moment that maybe we didn't want to share or we didn't think we could share or we didn't know how to do it. But you know, when you're front and center or you do that, or just say sometimes like let's say for example, there's an award that you want to win, but nobody promotes you for the award, so you don't really want to do you don't want to put your name in the hat yourself for it. So it's like you kind of just well, didn't nobody put my name in that, so I just didn't win it. That actually happened in real life, but so you just don't do it, so you don't win the award. You know, you probably could have won the award. So it's the same thing with interviews, man. It's like some stuff you want to put out, but you rather someone genuinely ask the question so that you can actually put that information out. There's a uniqueness behind that.
Yes, that's
So,
very
but
important.
I thank you though for having me on here.